Hello and welcome to Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. I am your host, Mikhail Tinubu. It's been a busy deadline day in the transfer window of January. The winter window as is now closed. But as it has, there's so much happenings that went on in Europe. And one team in particular throughout the window had been raising eyebrows, and even on the very last day, with very few minutes left on the clock, they broke the British transfer record by bringing in Argentine player Enzo Fernandez. Now, Premier League side Chelsea completed the signing of Benfica's Argentina midfielder Enzo Fernandez for a British record of £106.8 million on Wednesday, January 31st, after a day of complex negotiations between the two clubs. A statement from Benfica confirmed that a deal had been reached between the clubs over how Chelsea would pay the release fee for the 22-year-old, who has signed an 8.5-year contract. The fee eclipses the £100 million Manchester City paid Aston Villa for England midfielder Jack Grealish in 2021. Fernandez was instrumental in Argentina's World Cup campaign in Qatar, breaking into the starting lineup and playing every game, capping off the tournament by bagging the Young Player Award. He is Chelsea's 8th recruit in the mid-season transfer window after the London club signed Mikhailo Mudryk, Benoit Badiashile, Noni Madueke, Andre Santos, David Fofana, and Malo Gusto, while João Felix arrived on loan from Atletico Madrid. Fernandez transfer takes the club's total outlay on players since last year's takeover by an investment group led by American Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital to around £600 million, with more than £300 million splashed out in January alone. Now I have with me on the line Seun Ajidagba to discuss this particular eye-raising story. Seun, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Tinubu. Good morning to our wonderful viewers, and good morning to everyone all over the world. Happy New Month. This month portends greater things for you and I.
Amen, amen. Thank you so much for joining the show. Now, over £300 million spent by Chelsea in the January window alone. A lot has been made about that. Personally, maybe because I am biased and a Chelsea fan, I don't see the big deal. Questions have been raised whether Chelsea are destroying the transfer window. What do you make of that?
Well, Mika, it's so funny to think that Chelsea even spends more than the entire German Bundesliga. But then it's quite understandable. They are trying to rebuild. And a lot of people are talking about this because of the financial fair play rules. But again, if you look at it critically, Chelsea are not tampering or infringing the financial fair play rules. And that's why they are giving these players long-term contracts. You can see Mikhail Mudryk, 7-year contract. You can see Enzo Fernandez, 8 years. And those monies will be paid in instrumental. You are not paying it once for all. So if you are paying it once for all, it could have meant that you are breaking the financial fair play rules. But again, I understand what Toboli is trying to do. He's building for the future. All those players that you have seen, young players that they think will replace the old and the aging ones. Truth be told, Chelsea have got quite a lot of players outside. There was a day I even saw a picture that if everybody who is on loan, including those who are available and those who have been signed, eventually stay together, there are more than 3 clubs. But again, I understand what he's trying to do. Trying to give the coach, Graham Potter, some time. He was given a 7-year contract. So things are not working as we speak. But with the addition of some of these players, the likes of Mudryk, the likes of João Felix, Fernandez, yes, we want to say that Chelsea know where they are heading. But why people are raising eyebrow is the astronomical amount that they are paying for these players. Enzo Fernandez, just last season, doing Benfica for less than £50 million. And now they are signing him for a world record fee for British record. And the question is, Would that not put pressure on this young man? But hey, it's not my job to decipher. It's the job of
Well,
Graham Potter.
interestingly, with the outlay made on this particular player, if Chelsea had paid the 106 million pounds in total as one lump sum payment, they would have had to pay another 40 million pounds in taxes. But this way, they avoid that amount. Also, River Plate, the club that Enzo Fernandez joined Benfica from, an Argentine club, will now earn an additional 40 million euros on the back of what they already earned last time, because they had a sell-on clause of 25% of the profits. In the end, Benfica did really good business, holding out until the very last minute of the window. Perhaps that was the plan all along. What do you think?
Benfica are a club that know how to do business. In all honesty, if you look at history of Benfica, how they sell their players, from Nemanja Matic to Enzo Fernandez, quite a lot of them that have come from Benfica ranks, and they have made so much money. Like I said, how much did they just buy Enzo Fernandez? And truth be told, a lot of people are raising eyebrow because they felt that Enzo Fernandez has not reached that height for him to be sold for that amount. But like we always say, the selling price determines what the value of their player is. Enzo Fernandez did not start the World Cup for Argentina. He came in as a substitute in the game against Saudi Arabia, which was the only game they lost. But from then on, he became a cog in that team. Him and Gary McAllister, shown like a million stars. And he went on to emerge as the best young player of the tournament. So all these cumulative put together was one of the reasons I think Ricosta held on to that joker. That joker really paid off.
Sure. One thing I feel is that a lot of this complaint boils down to jealousy. Fans would love it if their clubs could make such astronomical signings and could still balance the budget. Roy Hodgson said that the value of a player is determined by the club that is willing to buy it and buy that player, and that he doesn't mind an Enzo Fernandez being priced at over 100 million pounds, because if you're the club who wants him, better to get that player now than to go for an alternative that doesn't meet the standard that you wanted the first player for, your main target for in the first place. Sure.
Can you hear me, Mika?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's Chelsea's money. They didn't come to lend money from anybody. So however they wish to spend their money is their own prerogative. No doubt, Enzo Fernandez is a fantastic player, a good player and a good addition to Chelsea. But like I said, which I'm still holding on to, a lot of people said the transfer market is over bloated because some of these players don't worth the amount that they place on them. So that's the reason they are complaining, and it puts a pressure on that player. To be honest, if you look at Jack Grealish, the man who held that record before, who was signed from Aston Villa to Manchester City, he has struggled to impress. And for every time he does not get it going, they keep hinging his poor performance on the amount of money that they paid for him. That is not justifying that amount. So that puts a lot of pressure on that player. Now, when Enzo Fernandez start donning the jersey of Chelsea, a lot of people want to say the man who has the British transfer record must be able to pick the ball from his own goalpost to go and score in the opponent's goalpost, or score about 50 goals or 60 goals. Not looking at it from the angle of Chelsea too must have made sales in some other areas, from merchandising, souvenir, and all of those things. So, but what they are looking at is this is the player that is the most expensive player in British record. So they want him to justify why they expended so much money on him, and it puts pressure on those players. And before you say Jacobinci, people start going on social media and they start talking about him that he's not doing this, he's not doing that. So it puts pressure on those players.
Now Chelsea actually did something in this window. We know that in the summer they still plan to spend a bit more, probably as high as 200, even 300 million pounds. To there's a chance they will go out to secure João Felix on a permanent deal. We know that last summer they were interested in Leao from AC Milan. They might still try to improve the midfield. Everyone is after Jude Bellingham. But in the course of trying to balance the budget and trim the squad, a player that no one really expected to leave this January, certainly not to cross the North London divide to go to Arsenal. Jorginho, what did you make of that that sale, that transfer?
So Jorginho is a player that Mikel Arteta has been eyeing in 2018. Don't forget that he joined Chelsea in 2018 when he left Napoli to come to Chelsea. They wanted to sign him at Manchester City, but he didn't want to go to Man City. He wanted to join Mauricio Sarri, a coach he had played under at Napoli. And that was the reason he went there. So they've been eyeing him. And Jorginho also, in recent times, vice captain of Chelsea, has been complaining about game time. Unfortunately, the Caicedo move did not happen to Arsenal because they also wanted to collect what is collectible from Arsenal. They took 70 million pounds plus add-ons. They said they are not accepting. If they cannot improve that bid, then they should leave it the way it is. That in actual fact, Caicedo is an integral member of Brighton and Hove Albion, and they are looking at it that Francesco Di Acerbi, their coach, can take them to European places, be it Conference League or Europa League. So they know that Caicedo is integral to what they want to do. But they didn't like what Caicedo did. In actual fact, his captain at Ecuador, Ena Valencia, said if he knew this was what he was going to do, to go public and say this about his job, he will have advised him appropriately. So when they could not get Caicedo, they just looked at the other option and the cheaper option, which was Jorginho.
Regarding Arsenal's need, even before Thomas Partey got injured, they needed a midfielder. And Caicedo fit the model of the kind of midfielder they needed to fill in for Partey in the event of his injury. His injury did occur, and now, rather than Caicedo, they've bought Jorginho. He has plenty of Premier League experience. His stats are better than Caicedo. But his biggest weakness, which is something that Partey obviously doesn't have at Arsenal, his ability to defend effectively, his pace, those two things haven't been addressed now that Partey is out. Obviously, they couldn't get their number one choice, which is Caicedo. But have they gone for a model of a player, a profile of a player that isn't going to solve their immediate need?
So I always tell people, there are two different types of midfielder. There is a ball passer and there is a ball carrier. A ball carrier in Chelsea is Kovacic. A ball passer is Jorginho. Jorginho and Partey are not the same.
True.
Partey can pass. Partey can mark. Jorginho can mark. He needs people around him, else he will be exposed. That's the reason he has been exposed in Chelsea at recent times, that they made them drop him. So if Arsenal want to get the best of Jorginho, who is a ball passer, is to make sure that the likes of Tomiyasu, if he's going to be the one starting, or Ben White, close up in that midfield on Jorginho and double mark for him. Else, he will be exposed. Because now, you don't expect Martin Odegaard to be doing all the marking when his main job is creativity. Because what Chelsea plays, Arsenal, is what we call a Christmas tree. 4-3-2-1. When you have Martin Odegaard, you have Granit Xhaka, and you have Thomas Partey. Partey and Odegaard have been able to help Granit Xhaka keep his cool The usual Granit Xhaka would have picked about 5 red cards. But you can see that it's a bit calmer now because they are dominating in the midfield. So if you want to see the best of Jorginho, is to have guys around him who will double match.
All right.
Jorginho will be exposed.
Finally, on this topic, for the transfer window of January, who is the big winner? Who is the big loser for you?
I used to think Mikai Tinubu is my friend, but this morning just showed that he's not my friend. He put me on the spot to decipher something that is very difficult. Biggest gainer in this transfer. Why we want to say that the game has not started, for us to know the impact of these players, I want to think it's Chelsea.
Okay.
Based on those players that they brought in. The biggest loser for me, in all honesty, I'll give it to Liverpool. Why? They didn't address the problem. They have a deficiency in midfield. The midfield is aging. Jordan Henderson, Thiago Alcantara,
yeah.
Fabinho, they are all old. They should have addressed that problem. But guess what? Trying to address the problem of outside right. Cody Gakpo is not a bad player, but he has not lived up to the expectation that is expected of him. So I would think that they are the biggest loser because they didn't address the problem.